Okay, this lecture is going to talk about changing the chart design. If you design your chart and link your chart to data in a worksheet, when you change the data values in that worksheet, it automatically updates the chart. And the chart tool tabs can be used to make specific changes within a chart, allow you to make it look different, make variations in the chart layout, the chart design, and things like that. So let's take a look at the chart we were looking at before. Let's look at this. And we've got this chart that we've created down here. And say we've got project 5 in the third quarter. The expenses went way up. Let's take project 3 in quarter 1. And let's raise this up. Let's double it. Let's go up to about 5,600 for the value. And you can see that went up a long ways for project 3, first quarter. The line really extended out. If I do a Control Z and undo, you can see it goes back. You see how if you make a change in the value of the cell itself, let's add a 0 on the end here and see. Watch this, the cell. Once I hit enter, then it definitely goes up. It changes the value of the left-hand scale so that everything is adjusted accordingly. And when you have a higher entry, all the values have to be adjusted accordingly, which shows by adding a 0 onto the end of this cell here, it made a huge difference in the left-hand scale for this chart. We'll take this back to the original scale. That looks a lot better. Okay, so we are to the point where we're using the chart tools on the Tool Design tab. You can change the chart type, modify the data range, the configuration, change the layout of objects, change the color schemes, and move the location of the chart. We already talked about that a little bit. This is the chart dialog box. Let's go into Excel directly. Alright, took a little work, but I got it moved down now so we can look at it differently. Now we're looking at the chart tab. Okay, once we've selected our chart, go to this little corner menu here and it'll pull up the chart menu, that change chart type that you can change, and the recommended charts that we already selected a chart from. And change the chart type. It allows us to look at different templates and different chart types to see what we might want to do. And we've already looked at these once already, but this is where we would make changes, where you'd make changes in different chart layouts. And then over here is where you would make the change in the colors. Let's take a look at the color scheme here. Maybe we'd want to pick a different color scheme for our chart. You see how it changes the color of the chart? Monochromatic chart. It's all one shade color. You may want to go with increasing colors. And let's go back to this one of the original colors that we chose. I think this first one was the one that we had to start with. That's how you'd change the color. We've already talked about changing the chart type. If you wanted to look at the chart style, you want to look at the different ways that the chart would be laid out. This definitely has some different ways that the chart's going to be laid out. May not look the best. I think the original way that we chose to put the chart together made a lot more sense, made the chart look a lot neater, and I think it definitely was a lot more successful chart as far as being able to read it. One thing too, we may not want to have the values show in the chart. We're going to get rid of the data labels, which definitely aren't helping us. Legend we want, the chart title, data labels, we want to get rid of those. There, that looks a lot better. And the chart definitely looks a lot easier to read. If we get rid of, we can add error bars, we can add, like if there's a margin for error for the results. Axis titles, we can add axis title, where we would say in tens of thousands of dollars, or however we wanted to list this. We could also put a title down here, projects for 4 quarters. We could mark this as being data labels for this bottom part that would tell us which quarter. there's a lot of different ways that you can change this chart by using chart elements, chart styles and colors, and also changing the names of the actual items on the chart. So there's a lot of variations that you can make to your chart as you're working through it. So the chart elements button, we were already looking at that. It allows us to add, remove, or modify the chart, add text, add labels, add those axis labels, change or modify what's listed as the labels on the axis. You can also modify the area behind the plot fill, change the look of the grid lines, you can change the titles. We were looking at all that stuff and what we were doing. So to change the chart layout, also, you can change it to the vertical axis and the horizontal axis. You can flip that, and you can go into change the chart layout just about any way you want to. You can change them from vertical to horizontal, and depending upon how visually you want your audience to see that data will determine the best way the chart looks to you and the way the chart makes the most sense for the data you're trying to impart to that group. Okay, I'm going to finish up the rest of this as far as formatting a chart. We've already looked at the color schemes. We looked at this as we were talking through making the changes in the chart. The color schemes can sometimes make a difference in the appearance of the chart, making it more pleasing, more aesthetically pleasing to the eye of the audience. And you might want to keep that in mind when you're picking your color scheme for your chart.